Totally by accident. Actually, I feel like a lot of stuff I've done has been a little bit, I fell into it and I liked it and I just kept going.
It's fascinating that there's so many different levels of the woodpreneur realm, and you probably cater towards the more aspirational, detail-oriented wood nerd that really cares about that it's less about the quantity, but more about the quality of the work that comes out, right?
I want to appeal to people who are like me, the wood nerds, but I want to make a video that speaks to an audience that appeals to your mom.
You build intimacy with your audience, then you can truly understand who they are.
Like the newbie sees the plateau and freaks out and changes something, and the veteran approaches the plateau and says, here you are again, and just keeps grinding.
And if you watch that documentary, if anybody watches it, there's a ton of business lessons in that documentary. And what I'm hearing you say is that you truly understood the importance of telling amazing stories through your videos and how that is a representation of your brand. Is that right? We are just releasing our latest training. And over this training, I go over how I helped generate $200,000 and 300 leads for clients. And during this 45-minute training, we will go over the frameworks, the strategies, and the concepts that you need to scale from 6 figures to 7 figures, or even just get started. These are the building blocks that I've seen help wood, lumber, furniture, millwork companies grow and scale. So I've been hearing it lots of times, like, I just need a training, I need a training, I need a training. So we finally put it together. So wherever you're consuming this, just click the link in the description and you'll be able to access it. Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur Podcast. This is your host, Steve. Today's guest is Nick Sawyer from Sawyer Design. How you doing, Nick?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you on. Hey, why don't you tell everybody about your business? What do you do?
Oh man, where do I start? I guess I'm a custom furniture maker,
Cool.
but that's not really my main revenue source. I would say content, specifically YouTube, is where most of my efforts are going these days. I started making furniture, I guess 5 years ago now. Moved to a new city and had to sort of restart everything. And I've really never had any interest in production. I spoke with a friend really early on who his whole outlook on life and wanting to put all of his effort into one thing and make a furniture piece that matched the price tag instead of giving out a price tag first and just trying to compete and hit, more efficiency and just really build the quality into, what he wanted to sell it for. Was sort of a driving factor for building one-offs, and then it's all been sort of figuring out how to continue making that, because obviously that does not scale.
Yeah, no, too custom is not scalable unless you have a team. That's cool. So, talk about just the origin story. Like, how'd you get started in the wood industry?
Yeah, totally by accident. Actually, I feel like a lot of stuff I've done has been a little bit, I fell into it and I liked it and I just kept going. My background's in biology. Studied a little bit of business after my bachelor's degree, and then I was kind of just living life, waiting tables, partying, going to festivals, enjoying life. And my wife got me into woodworking more so because she wanted some patio furniture, and I ended up with a chop saw, and I was painting signs, building pallet wood furniture on the back patio, using a pin nailer, no glue. I built like a DJ booth, a dock, a whole bunch of just random stuff, and eventually got into fine woodworking via my mentor, really good buddy, back in Boise.
Mm-hmm.
Then we moved out to Portland, and I all of a sudden did not have a customer base anymore.
Mm.
So I was trailering one-offs back to Boise, but it was killing me. And that's where I sort of started enjoying sharing stuff on Instagram, and that's where a lot of my business was coming from.
Yeah.
But I have always had this itch to find the next hardest thing every time. As soon as I've done something, I don't have a ton of interest in doing it again,
Mm.
which is great for somebody looking to get into art. But for the business person, that's kind of hard to scrape by with
Yeah.
having everything be a prototype and have it go out the door.
Yeah.
So it's got to be pretty perfect. There's just a lot that goes into it. And yeah, I uh, got into bent lamb a couple years ago, which just adds a whole nother world of complexity to things, and really having to uh, put a lot on the back of that one engineering class I took.
Mm.
Uh, but yeah, it's been cool to try to figure out how to make one-offs work. I really have a lot more interest in building a couple $100,000 pieces a year instead of one, $1,000 piece at a time,
Mm.
or big contracts in a big production shop. I like my little 400 square foot shop, and I like putting my everything into one single piece at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the bread and butter? Like, what's your main product that you make?
Videos.
Yeah. That's the main thing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I just spent 4 months, 960 hours on a single table.
Well,
So, as far as product, like I don't have a product line. I don't have a single piece that I lean on or worry about. I'm really focused on showing the coolest stuff on YouTube, and finding what can't compete, like where there aren't any competitors. And that's sort of been my focus in the entire time of woodworking too. Like I don't want to compete for the, next river table with the guy next door who's also doing those, or hairpin legs, or and nothing against those. It's not the kind of business that inspires me. Obviously that's a great business model that makes a lot of money. I just
hmm.
have a hard time getting passionate about it.
Fascinating. So your business is leveraging your wood and furniture making skills to storytell and then monetizing it.
Yeah. There was a couple gaps in the YouTube space that I thought I could fill. First was quality. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people filming on their iPhones, and telling about how to and what they want to do, and how
Yeah.
to do it. And that's awesome. There's just like so many people have done such a great job. Mark Spagnolo, Steve Ramsey,
Yeah.
and then there's the River Table guys. There's Cam, Blacktail Studio. There's Four Eyes Furniture, all doing a great job with that. So it was, where can I sort of eke in there and find my niche and speak to that audience that of, I call them wood pornographers. They're just like into really intricate stuff, uh, and kind of process, all about that process, all about the detail and the care and the thoughtfulness and the design. So,
Wow.
uh, yeah,
That's really cool. It's fascinating that there's so many different levels of the woodpreneur realm, right? And you probably catered towards the more aspirational, detail oriented wood nerd that
totally.
really cares about the it's less about the uh quantity, but more about the quality of the work that comes out, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting balance too. So there's that side of it, and that's the audience that I really, that's my core that I build off of. But to reach the numbers that I want to be, there's sort of an interesting balance in the story side of things and like the design and the inspiration that to reach a broader audience. So I want to appeal to people who are like me, the
Uh-huh.
wood nerds, but I want to make a video that speaks to an audience that appeals to your mom, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and finding that balance and really it's coming down to finding the story behind the piece to
Hmm.
appeal to both crowds.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the have you built in so how did was that story that you first told about your friend and like how did you arrive to that point? Was it the move that caused it, or was it like you're like, you know what? Do you understand my question? Where I'm trying to get to is like sometimes people have a hard time settling in on a particular path for their business, but it seemed like something happened and you were like, okay, this aligns with who I am. And maybe it will suck in the beginning, but I'm willing to ride this out because right now you're at 115,000 subs, right? And I'm like, wow, that's a lot. It was not easy to get there, but I just want to understand like how did you get there?
Yeah, I tried everything. I tried the how to, I tried the simple projects, I the complicated stuff, the really everything and nothing, like the Mr. Beast style, the no music, the all the music, the no talking, the it was just sort of a shotgun approach and nothing really caught on. And I think there's a lot to be said for building or building or making videos that appeal to you, and I felt like I was really trying to match somebody else's style.
Mm.
And repetition, there's something about iteration that really will point you in the right direction no matter what you're doing. I think that is true for design too. Probably the turning point for me was my wife and I had a child,
Okay.
and he died.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I, yeah, I built the urn for him. Um, and then somebody was referred to me, and they had lost their 16-year-old son. And I was able to build like this sculptural piece and really take the story of his life that his dad gave me and um, build a piece where every part of it was some representation of that story.
Yeah.
And something just clicked. It meant a lot. Um, yeah, it was a deeply emotional piece to build.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish I knew what I knew now about story in remaking that video.
Yeah.
Like I was just sort of getting into it, and I love the video. The family loved the video, which was the really important part. And it didn't not perform well, but it wasn't like my best performing video. But I really saw the like power that was in that.
Yeah.
And I sort of teetered back and forth on like the too far on either end of that gravity, I guess. I
Yeah.
don't want everything to like be that sad or emotional, but there is something to be said for finding, as far as like commercial appeal to an audience, finding the a story that's vague, maybe vague isn't the right word, relatable enough that they can apply it to their life, and then figuring out how that works in the course of the build and telling that story alongside it.
Mm.
So yeah, it's kind of complicated, and I don't know. I'm working on a design course, and a few project courses right now. So I'm trying to find the language around that that really describes it in a way that's black and white, but I don't know, there's something kind of contradictive about trying to put a prescription to a thing that's so like ethereal and not tangible.
Yeah.
That seems counterproductive. It's interesting. It's a fun challenge.
Yeah. I was just watching, only because somebody recommended it, the Netflix show on Jake Paul. You know Jake Paul? I know you
Mhm.
follow YouTube. So Jake, did you watch the Netflix documentary?
Didn't.
Yeah. So Jake Paul talks about storylines and how important it is. He was like, and the reason why he's so successful, I mean, obviously he's a good boxer and he's got the audience, but he knows how to tell stories. And so he brought that element to boxing. And if you watch that documentary, if anybody watches it, there's a ton of business lessons in that documentary. And what I'm hearing you say is that you truly understood the importance of telling amazing stories through your videos and how that is a representation of your brand. Is that right?
Yeah, and more so telling amazing stories from the design, like from the start. So the
Mm,
piece really tells the story, and then I'm just telling the story about the story that I have come up with about the design.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you develop your aesthetic, like, from your photography to, the style of work to the video, like, because there is a texture to it. It's almost like your videos, it feels like a stain. You know what I mean? Like it feels like there's a look to it. How did you develop that look?
I am severely colorblind, so video has been a really steep learning curve. I shoot everything in log footage, so it comes out of the camera basically black and white, and I recolor it, which
Mm,
really gives the depth of color and richness of blacks and the detail and the highlights.
yeah.
But finding the balance in there, I've really it's come together over the course of time, and I'm at where I'm at because that's as good as I know how to do. Like if I could, I would love it to look like a Netflix show, with Ari, Alexa footage graded, like Euphoria, but I'm not that good yet. So it's really what it looks like is just the workflow of how I color grade. And I don't know that I'm the best editor. Actually, I feel like I'm really not, but I learn a little bit with each one. Um, yeah, I would say most of it is not intentional. A lot of it is just by way of process and figuring out the tools and the technique. And the result is just my understanding of those.
Interesting. Interesting. Because it
Yeah.
looks intentional.
Yeah, it's such a crazy like shift from just building stuff alone in the shop to like in I don't storyboard anything, so I'm shooting everything knowing sort of where I want to go with it. Like I
Yeah.
don't want, to be looking down in this corner and then you have to focus up here. So like I know framing from one shot to the next and every act in the shop needs a few different angles of that same thing.
Hmm.
So you're not looking at one wide angle for 20 minutes and have no idea what's going on. And then also thinking about the story and knowing that a potential 500,000 people are going to hear those words and like how all of those perspectives are going to perceive or could possibly perceive it, and sort of like stepping out of my own perception of how I'm telling it and trying to think of how other people are going to not only perceive the story, but also the piece itself.
Yeah. 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 Do you end up selling the pieces that you make?
Everyone is a commission. Yeah.
Everyone. Okay. They're sold before before you make it.
Yep.
That's dope. How do you, what's the mindset of someone that shows up consistently through video and content?
Creator or audience?
Creator, of course, man. You.
Oh God, there's a great quote, and I'm probably gonna butcher this, but like the newbie sees the plateau and freaks out and changes something, and the veteran approaches the plateau and says, "Ah, here you are again," and just keeps grinding. There's definitely sort of a treadmill that you get on, and the moment you get off, you have to like build up that speed again. So momentum has so much to do with it. I don't know that I am the best to speak to that. Like I don't put out a video every single week. I don't even put out a video every single month. Kind of like my furniture, I put it out when it's ready to go out, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
I've made enough stuff that I can look back. I'm like, could have done better there, or I wish I hadn't had that deadline there. Especially where there's two people paying me. There's the sponsor and there's the client.
Yeah.
The client has to live with the piece. The sponsor is the one with the budget, the monthly advertising budget that needs to hit a deadline.
Yeah.
So there's a weird balance there where the sponsor's really paying typically more than the client is for that piece of furniture.
Yeah.
And trying to get a video out on a schedule that meets the sponsor who doesn't care what the end product looks like.
They just care about the views. Yeah.
Exactly. Which is funny because what the end product looks like definitely, at
Impacts
least
the
in,
views.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And so you're your own little media agency.
Yeah. I've got an agent.
That's so sick.
Yeah. Some guy reached out, Vic, super cool guy. He owns Venture Arts and he does sort of the web development side of things. And we've been working to sort of build my positioning and my branding and my site up. Right now, my site really reflects a furniture maker that it's sort of hard to see if he sells furniture, and why the hell are there t-shirts on here? Oh, there's videos. Wait, does he want me to go to Instagram or YouTube or buy a piece of furniture or buy a t-shirt? It's sort of confusing, and it really is reflective of this very fast change of my positioning. And category definition is something I've been working on a lot. Sort of the bentwood, high-end, inspirational heirloom, I guess, modern heirloom.
Yeah. Dude, that's really, really fascinating. What do you see your brand taking you? Like, where would you like to be in a couple of years?
Couple years, I'd hope to be at 1 million subs. I'd hope to have somebody helping in the edit, if that's cutting selects or actually doing a lot of the edit, and I come through and voiceover. I think that's really going to be the driving factor that puts me to a more regular schedule, and maybe a bigger shop. I keep going back and forth on that. Like, I want the bigger shop, and I want the uh, not drum sander, the wide belt,
Yeah.
and the 16-inch joiner and the sliding table saw. But as far as audience goes, like that kind of puts me at a place that's less relatable, which I don't know if that matters at the content
Mhm.
that I'm putting out. Like I'm not doing a DIY.
Yeah.
So it's like an interesting, does it? It's an expensive test uh, make, especially talking to
Dude.
Altendorf last week at AWFS. It's
Yeah.
that handguard on the F45 is a $75,000 test to see if my audience responds well or poorly to a sliding
Yeah.
table saw.
Yeah. I'm assuming that like your setup is similar to what a lot of your audience has, except that, the skill and the detail. So you're very relatable to them.
I don't I don't know. It kind of depends on what segment. Like I've always said that for organic reach, the core that is doing all of the engagement and really getting your content pushed out to the larger masses that may be your clients or your audience or your views, whatever it may be, they're the ones who you want to appeal to first. And
Hmm.
um, I think there are subsets of that. There's the just getting started. There's the I'm in a different vertical. Like I'm in a production shop, but I'd like to do more custom stuff on the side. There's sort of just like a whole breadth of people. So I don't know how relatable my shop is right now. I
Yeah.
hear a lot, like on podcasts, a lot of people get I could do that too if I had those tools.
Yeah.
I have never received that content or that comment,
Yeah.
which I don't know if I'm. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think that's necessarily a bad comment. It means it's super relatable. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm already at the point where it's not relatable either in the design, the execution, the technical aspects, the engineering side, the video quality. Maybe a sliding table saw doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Trying to
Yeah.
justify it in my head here.
Yeah. Cool. So this is a part of the podcast where I give you any marketing or business advice. And so, is there anything that you need help with? You need to think through anything that you're struggling with that I can help?
Yeah, I'm trying to get more scalable and move into verticals that do that are not labor based. Product or digital product or physical product or digital good. Um, on the digital side, I can see the scalability, obviously, in my positioning as bent lamination. Um,
Hmm.
that niche is fairly small. So I'm wondering, how do you test these without putting I also don't want to put out content that's not at the level that I'm proud to present.
Yeah.
So there's not like a MVP of a course. I just refuse to put out something that isn't going to give value to people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think in my sort of process and work with clients it's like three parts. One is understanding your brand and understanding who you are. Mission, vision, values. It's almost like I think in many ways when you hit 100,000, I'd love it for people when they see you that you are on your own journey and they are supporting that. So that's kind of like the tone that I think needs to happen in order for you to get there. And I feel like a lot of people, especially in the woodworking space, are a little afraid to go there. They're afraid to position themselves as like the star. They're the reluctant to even acknowledge that they are star, right? And so for me, I think about you and your brand. Think about like what's the journey that you're on and how can you use your content to bring people along that journey so that there's life beyond the piece that you're creating, because I feel like you would potentially open up even more opportunities there. So like you can get the wood nerds, but you can get the people that just like truly care about fine furniture and having a piece in your home, right? In their home. That's on the brand side. On the community side, you got 115,000 subscribers. How big is your email list?
Working on it. Just started it really. Sawyerdesign.io. Shameless plug. It's like 500.
Oh, yeah, you need to like relentlessly. And so the way that I would do this is by saying October 1, I'm launching my premium newsletter. Sign up now. And you can probably get a couple giveaways from your sponsors to incentivize people to do that and leverage
Got a Fuji 5-stage.
Yeah. And build up your mailing list so that it's a couple thousand and come up with a cadence for putting out regular content. It's a little bit low touch than the videos, but you want to make it so that your open rates are super high, super duper high. And maybe it's every 2 weeks, maybe it's every week, but you're going through something and you're building something, and that just needs to be articulated to your audience so that they feel like they are part. So like before, I didn't mention this, I used to run a nonprofit, and I ran it for 18 years. And there's something that I learned when you're doing something, nonprofit charity related, is that people want to support causes and movements and communities. And you know who does that really well? Oh man, 731. You know him?
I've seen his channel, yeah.
Yeah. He does that really well. Like he puts out who exactly he is. He's a former state patrolman who quit his job to do this. He started making money on the side, selling on Facebook Marketplace. Like I think he just like when he hit like 200,000, he like went full time. He like his wife just quit, right? Like they're God-fearing people, like they're religious, like they put themselves out there. They created a Facebook group, and I think there's probably like 30,000 people in there. I don't know how big his mailing list is, but like, so to me, I think about like coalescing and getting your community together and like pouring free content, like your YouTube stuff, like that you can probably take your YouTube videos, break those up, and there's different pieces of content and lessons and insights and learnings from there. And so for me, I think about like you're a super pensive person, you're detail oriented, you have this design aesthetic, which is very, you say it's unintentional, but you know what you like. But like if you can put that out there more and bring your audience closer to you, then you can find out exactly what they want in order for you to create a product that they would like. Because I don't know if anybody else needs a course, right? Like
I don't know if there's any other courses on bent lamination and the stuff that I'm wanting to put out.
Yeah. So for me, that's what I'm saying. Like if you get everybody together in one little community then it'll be so much easier. I mean, it's the same thing with YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. They give out this content, they build this, that like they make it so easy for you to consume. They reward people for consuming it and spending more time on it, and they capture the eyeballs, and then they monetize. Whatever you get per video could instantly increase by 25-30% by having a large mailing list, because no matter what, views are one thing. Emails, you can look at your spam folder. People are still sending emails, right? Open rates are much higher than they are on posts. Posts, what do you get? Like 5%? You could potentially get a 30%, 40% open rate on an email. And I bet you someone like you, if you start like putting out like very detailed, not detailed, but like intimate. That's what it is. That's the word. It's like you build intimacy with your audience, then you can truly understand who they are. So that's what I would do. Launch a newsletter this fall.
It's already launched. It's actually going out in this next video is the like hard launch of it.
Cool. So just grow it.
Yeah.
Do some and then the next phase after that would potentially be like a Discord community or a Facebook community to get people together.
Yeah, I started a subreddit. I have a problem with Discord. I feel like any Discord that has over 50 members is just so noisy. I wish they had a better like threading ability, topical type stuff. Facebook makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That's about the only thing I use Facebook for anymore is groups.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, that's what I would do. I would, and then ask, once you get everybody together in one area, they can network, they can grow. Like, dude, you know how, so even with this podcast, we range between 20 to 30,000 downloads a month. I can, in 2 weeks, I can send an email out if I'm traveling to Denver or Dallas, and I can get 50 people to show up. That's the level where you want to be, where you can send an email out or make a couple posts, and because people know who you are and they feel connected to you, that you can have an in-person event. That is how you gain leverage with sponsors as well, and you can command more because you have another touch point for your audience.
It also builds authority in the space if there's actually people wanting to show up for you.
Exactly. Is that helpful?
Yeah, I think a lot of that affirms what I am already working on doing. Next, speaking of in person, I'll be, I guess, in 2 weeks, Texas Woodworking Festival put on by Austin School of Furniture. I'll be teaching 2 courses.
Cool.
Speaking at Workbench Con in the spring, and then Mark Adams just invited me out to put on a 1-week furniture course next summer. So
sick. That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Cool. Well, any last bit of parting advice for the Woodpreneur community?
I think in all else, relentlessness really is your best friend. Just keep. There's no failures. It's just on to the next thing. Keep going. It's we didn't pick this because it's easy. We picked it for the challenge.
For sure. Cool. Well, what's your Instagram and your website?
Yeah, Instagram Sawyer_design. If you don't know how to spell Sawyer, you were listening to the wrong podcast.
I think everybody knows how to spell Sawyer. Yeah.
And then Sawyer Design on YouTube. I've got some project courses and a design course coming out. You can sign up for the newsletter to be notified about that at sawyerdesign.io. And yeah, hit me up on Instagram, Threads. I'm liking Threads. Speaking of community, that's I like,
You like it?
The lighter touch, the less production.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
cool.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much, Nick, for your time, and I look forward to getting the story out.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. This has been fun.
All right, take care.
Cool. Catch you later.